Okay. Uh, Hi to everyone who's joining us in our live hacking session. Um, we're going to be doing a CTF today again. But this hack is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be somewhat combining a whole lot of hacks stuff that we've looked at in the past. So there's going to be a bit of digital forensics. There might be some steganography as well, and there's going to be some privilege escalations that we're going to go through as well. So obviously, it is a complete CTF. We still have one main goal, which is to ideally complete that CTF and find the flag within that target machine. So it's not going to come easy. It's also worth noting that this CTF has also a part which is based on web hacking as well. So we may actually come across an initial website that we'll have to break in through in order for us to get elsewhere. So as we progress through, I'm going to try as much as possible to make it as clear as possible, especially for those who are beginners, who are not exactly familiar with some of the tools and methodologies that we approach when we perform our entire CTFs and audit process. So as always, guys, all your questions, please do drop them in the Q&A section, and then I can address them as I progress through. So you can use the Q&A, the question and answer section, and then I can attend to your answers as we progress through. So let's jump straight into the CTF. So I'm just going to go ahead and share. So we're going to be completing the CTF, as always, from Kali Linux. So there he goes. Okay. So there's our Kali Linux machine. Okay. And we'll be using that to complete that CTF. So I'm just gonna log into my Kali machine like so. And then I'm just gonna move you guys over to the other screen so I'm able to see any questions as we progress through the CTF. Okay, beautiful, wonderful. All right, so let's jump straight into our CTF. So this is what we have. It's obviously our Kali Linux machine. I'm having this currently running in a virtual box. So it's somewhat of an enclosed system where I can just run it all in there, and we see how much we can cover as we progress through. So we're going to be having this CTF coming out of Try Hack Me. It's worth noting as well that I didn't do the CTF ahead of time. I just went at random and thought, how about we do the CTF and see if we can hack our way through a Linux machine, and maybe just maybe. So if I hit a snag and think a lot along the process, don't mind me. But nonetheless. So here we are. I'm going to open up a new tab here, and we'll jump straight to Try Hack Me. Okay. Please remember, guys, if you have any questions along the way, please do drop them out in the Q&A section on the webinar. Okay. So beautiful. There we are. Now, you should have a Try Hack Me account. If you're unfamiliar with what Try Hack Me is, it's a platform that offers us labs, it offers us machines that are some vulnerable, some not vulnerable, and then we're able to practice. Ideally, we're able to practice and get as much as we can out of it. So it's a controlled environment, and they try to make those machines as real life as possible for you. So Nandahu, so there's my Try Hack Me. I haven't done any CTF this week, which is kind of poor, but you'd notice my streak is currently sitting at 0, which is okay. This should cover my streak for the week anyway. So you should notice your CTF when you go to the Learn section. And then I believe it's search, because we're going to search for a specific one in this case. Okay, so we're just going to go over to search. So the name of the CTF that we're going to be doing is It's called UA High School, I guess. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, UA High School. So I believe it's a website for a high school that we're supposed to be performing the CTF on. And it's not a walkthrough, unfortunately. If you notice the CTFs we've done in the past, they were actually walkthroughs. You had questions that somewhat guided you to completing the CTF. On the CTF, however, this is not a walkthrough, so you have to figure things out on your own. So if I remember the spelling quite well, it's U.A high school. Okay. I'm sure just by writing UA, it should actually pop up right off the bat. So yes, beautiful. There it goes. So it's given a level of easy. So it should be, I hope, easy. But nonetheless, so the basic procedure of starting off, I believe, is very much the same. We have to connect to our TryHackMe network using the VPN configuration. If you're unfamiliar with it, we actually started showing you the walkthrough on how to connect your TryHackMe machine back in the first live hacking session or so. But nonetheless, so this is the room entirely. So once we start, as you notice, my progress is sitting on 0%. I haven't even started this at all. So there's a lot of thinking I'll be doing as I progress through. So I'm gonna go ahead and join the room. This is some of the fastest people who finished it. I hope I can appear somewhere there. So I haven't done anything, no points, nothing, but I can do this. So I've joined the room. You'd notice now there's access machines. Remember, when you're going for the first time, you're gonna go on there and you click over on OpenVPN Advanced, and then you make sure that you're selected on Linux, by the way, and then you go ahead and download your OpenVPN configuration pack. This should help you to make the connection. So once you've downloaded that, I'm going to open up my terminal here. So I'm going to sort of be doing two. In fact, let me just get rid of this. Matter of fact, I'm just going to open my folders here. I'm just going to navigate to the folder where that file that I downloaded is. It should be within my downloads folder. Okay. And this should be the one right there. That's my configuration pack that I downloaded from TryHackMe. So I'm going to open my terminal here. And there it is. So if I run the command ls, it should list everything there. So this is the file that I would like to make the connection with. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that file. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and connect. So to connect, it will be sudo open VPN. So that's open VPN. And then we'll just paste the name through and enter. Kali as our password if you're using the VirtualBox version. So it should be quite simpler in that form. Then once you're done, you should notice a initialization sequence completed. Okay. I'm going to set this shell aside. Okay. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to make a folder here. I'm just going to call that UA high or whatever. Anything that I need, I'm just going to be creating the files here, and then it will help me keep track of my process. So I'll open my folder there. Now we can get started. So back to TryHackMe. Now we can start the hack itself. So what is the first step? What are we given? We can go ahead and launch up the machine to boot it up. So they say, join us in the mission to protect the digital world of superheroes. UA, the renowned superhero academy, is looking for a superhero to test the security of our new site. Our new site is a reflection of our school's venues designed by our engineers with incredible quirks. Ooh, I guess. We have gone to great lengths to protect a secure platform that reflects the exceptional education of the UA. You have about 3 to 5 minutes to fully boot. Cool. It should be working on the boot. Yeah, I've got about 28 seconds until it launches up. But anyways, so what we need to do right off the bat, this is not a walkthrough. I'm sure you can actually see that there's no questions that are there to help us solve this entire CTF. All we have to do is find the user flag and find the root flag. So we need to find these files inside this PC, and we have to hack our way through to find those files because it's not going to be that easy. So we have about 3 seconds or so. That should be fine. Then we should get our IP address right there. So now let's let's see. So penetration testing, ethical hacking 101. The first step is always going to be information gathering. So I have to gather as much information as possible. And at this point in time, I just know the name of the school. Googling the school won't help me. So, but I have the IP address, so I could go ahead and perform a scan, see what I could find. If there's a website there, or if there's something I could use. So what I'm gonna do is perform a nmap scan. I'm gonna go ahead and say sudo nmap and paste in the IP address. So I'm gonna have to go back and copy that because I did not copy that. Okay, right there. Okay, just gonna copy that IP address and I'm gonna paste it right in there. And you'll need Kali the password, of course. Then we're gonna let nmap do his thing. So nmap is supposed to perform his scan and everything, and maybe we'll find anything useful. And I'm just gonna open up a tab in case we find any website running or anything interesting. By the way, make sure you do not close this, otherwise you're going to lose access to the TryHackMe network. So under no circumstances shall you close that. So while this is done, I'm just gonna do my own enumeration. So just gonna go there and see maybe if there's a website by trying to visit. Oh, beautiful. There we go. So this looks like a very simple-ish type of website. So welcome to UAE High School beta. So there's some information about the school. There's some courses, business course, general studies, Department of Management. There's a apply now that you could come across as well. So all seems well. There's a courses page, I think. Okay, popular courses, ethics, blah, blah, blah. So there's pretty much nothing we could tell. What about the source code? Could we find anything interesting in the source code? I'm just gonna view source here. Just gonna look at the main source code. Okay, now this could be interesting. So this is the CSS code, to give it a general styling and everything. But from what I'm noticing, this seems to be in a folder called assets. So what if there's something interesting in assets? Because looking at this other source code, there's nothing interesting. If we go to other links such as these, we still find that assets CSS. So from what we know, the style.css file is inside of a folder called assets. And inside that folder called assets, there could be something interesting. So we'll try and manually navigate to the assets folder. Assets. Perhaps we could find something interesting or nothing interesting at all. What if, well, from what we know, I mean, normally websites start with an index, right? What if there's an index.html here? That's if it was, okay, there's no index.html. Okay, what if it was written in PHP? Okay, but this did not give us a not found, so clearly this is a thing, right? Makes sense. So I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this and see if I could find something I could do with this code. Because if I try and view the source code here, I don't think I would find anything. There's absolutely nothing. So I can't even see the source code of this PHP file. So what I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to do is see if there's any commands. Oh, my nmap scan is done. There is an SSH port open, so maybe that would be useful as we progress through. So what I'm going to try and do is perform a directory search. Okay, so there's a special tool called dir search. If you don't have it, you can go ahead and install it using sudo apt install dir search, because it seems I don't have it. Okay, this should install that script for us. Now, what this script does is it performs an enumeration. Enumeration basically means going through everything manually, but it sort of automates the thing. Sort of like what we were doing, looking at the source code, going into different pages, different links and everything. That's ideally what enumeration is in a nutshell. So dir search or directory search is what's going to perform an entire search for us. So it's going to perform a directory search for us and see if there's anything we could find. Maybe we're supposed to give like an extension to this index.php or something. So dir search would help us find any of those things. So we can use dir search. Okay. If you're unfamiliar with dir search, just write it as it is with nothing, you should be able to get like a helper or something like that. Yeah, they're saying give a URL like that. So I'll do that. So I'll say -u, and then I'll give my URL, and my URL should be exactly this. So I'm just gonna give this to the directory search and see what I can find. I'm just gonna do that. Okay. So the tool is gonna do a lot of dancing, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we could find something interesting from it. So it's going to use a lot of permutation. It's going to do a lot of testing. So notice what it's doing there. It's testing a lot of stuff and seeing somewhere along the way it could have something that could work with this index.php. So normally in the real world, when we do something like this, like an enumeration, it's kind of similar to when we're cracking a password. You have to give it an incredibly long time. So we have to actually wait up until it's done. And then when we get a result, then we're perfect. So we'll let it cook. And then in the moment, I'll try and do some enumeration myself. So to try and figure out here, this index.php could need some parameters here. Maybe user is equals to admin for what it's worth. Maybe that's something that needs to be passed on, perhaps. Okay. So this is what we're actually trying to figure out using this script that is currently running there. So we're letting it cook. Then there could be a command line injection as well. That's possible as well. So meaning a command line injection is done by CMD. For those who are familiar with Windows, we could try some Windows command like who am I? Okay, it's as if we're executing terminal code. Oh, this is beautiful. So it's as if we're entering terminal commands like what you do on a CMD screen, like a terminal, but it's a Windows command in this case. So if you look at a normal Linux, at a Linux one, if I do a who am I, it sort of tells me who I am, basically. So I'm sort of injecting these commands, but I'm executing it for the target machine instead. And it gave me this. This doesn't seem like it's a username because it's supposed to tell me who's the current username, who's currently logged into that machine, but it doesn't. I get those weird things, but that could be base64 because base64 looks weird. For those who don't know what base64 is, base64 is a type of hashing system. So I'm going to try and convert this. So I'm going to say echo, and I'm just gonna quote unquote this. So to convert into base64, we're gonna echo it, and then we're gonna pipe it and say base64-d to decode that message using base64. And then we told www data. So this is the current person who's logged into that machine. Could that be anything useful? Maybe. So that's the who am I. But from what I'm thinking, if we can actually inject some commands in here, we could inject a command that could make this machine to connect to me without the need of a password, of course. So I could do that. In that way, I could actually get a shell or something like that. So I'm gonna try and inject something that tells this target machine to connect to me. Instead of doing the obvious stuff like who am I, just to list who the current user is, I could try and inject a command that will say, hey, connect to so-and-so. I could attempt to do that instead. So obviously noticing that this is a Linux machine, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is go to Rev Shells. I think it should be the name of my website because it's been quite a while. Rev Shells is just a website that helps beginners like me to kind of figure out how to create a command that can create a reverse shell connection. So there it is, revshells.com. So I'm gonna go there and see if I can help it, give it some stuff, and it can create a command for me that I can inject into that. And hopefully it can force it to connect to me. And then hopefully I'll get a shell and I'll have a foot in the door. So this is the rev shells generator. So you give it the settings here, and then it'll give you the listener, and the command will be given to you there. So because this is a Linux machine, let's kind of figure out if it has Netcat installed. So I'm gonna go here and try and inject netcat. I'm just gonna say literally netcat. Maybe there is netcat installed on this machine. It doesn't seem there is. So we could try and use busybox. Busybox is just like a whole package of tools for Linux. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to provide the IP and the port. This is the settings of who should it connect to, the IP address of whoever it should connect to, and the port number of whoever still it should connect to. I'm just gonna leave the port number as it is, okay? And then here, my IP address, if you connected using Kali Linux, your current IP address for the VPN is located there, right on your notification bar or whatever, taskbar, whatever they call it. So it'll be 10.6, it's 0.6.92, I believe, yes, 0.209. That should be it. So that's the IP address then. Then what's the operating system? We're doing a reverse connection here. We want a reverse connection. We don't want to connect to it. We want it to connect to us. Hence, it's called a reverse connection. Then what kind would we like? So you can go ahead and test most of these, making a bash connection, a netcat connection, and so on and so forth. You can go through quite all of these. And somewhere along the way, you have one which works. So I'm going to try a busybox. As we tried, we noticed that the netcat command doesn't work. It gave us absolutely nothing. So I'm going to try and make a busybox connection directly. Okay, so it looks something like that. So we could attempt to inject this command into our CMD pipeline and see if it can connect. But before we even do that, we need to do this on our local machine. Otherwise, we're not catching any connections that are being made. So we need to actually execute this using netcat. So when I do that, go back there, and then we just do that. Now I'm gonna have to do a sudo in front of this for it to work perfectly, and I leave for that. Now it's saying listening. So what we have here is a listener. It's listening for someone to connect, of which that other someone is that machine which I'm about to try and force to connect to me. Fingers crossed. If it works, then that's perfect. So I'm gonna try the busybox and see if it works. Remember, you can try all of these, by the way. I'm just gonna try busybox because it seemed to have worked for me in the past. So it should work for me today. So you could try doing that. If everything works out, it's loading up for quite longer, as a matter of fact. Hopefully it works. So it's executing that command to try and perform that reverse connection. Okay, so if everything works well, our netcat should end up getting a connection. There we go. It said connect to blah, 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 wherever that is. But then we have nothing after that, which is okay, But let's try some terminal commands like who am I? It says I'm www data. So, hey, this is beautiful. We did actually get a shell connection. So now what do? It's kind of a little difficult to tell a lot of things. We could list what's in our current folder. Notice what's here. There's the index.php that we used to hack our way through. So it works like a charm. There's an images folder. We don't know what's in that images folder anyway. So let's see what is inside the images folder. Remember, we're trying to find the users flag at this point, right? Because we're trying to hack our way through this entire thing. So we're trying to find user.txt and we're trying to find root.txt. And hopefully, by the mercy of something, we'll be able to find those things. So I cd'd into images. Let's list out what's in there. There's one for all.jpg and whatever the heck that name is .jpg. So it seems like there's some pictures in there. We'll just download those files to figure things out. Although downloading the files is a little bit of a hassle because we had to kind of rob our way to connect to this machine. We don't even know any password whatsoever. So we can't SSH and then download those files. So what we could do is to force this machine to run another web server where we could actually host these files and then download them. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use Python to start a HTTP server. and then we'll use that HTTP server, and then we'll download the files on the other end. So to do this, I'm gonna go ahead and say Python 3, which has it, -m, okay, and then we'll say http.server, and then you specify the port which you would like to run your server from. So I'm just gonna run my server from, say, maybe 8081, for instance. So this should run Python. It will create an HTTP server locally right there. So what I'm gonna go ahead and try and do is to connect from my web browser and see if that HTTP server works perfectly. Then I'm able to download it from this end. So the IP address of that machine is 10.10.126.43. Yeah, that's it. We can just do this. We'll specify now on 8081 because that's where we're hosting that HTTP server. Then let's run this. I'm not gonna give any arguments whatsoever. But hey, there we go. We have a directory listing. So we can actually download this files from here without having to go through too much of a hassle. So there's a one for all the JPG file. I'm just going to click on it and see if we can download it. So there we go. They said cannot display. That's fine. I'm going to Control S to see if I can save the file. Okay. If Control S doesn't work, that's fine. But hey, I think the Control S works. Yeah, beautiful. So I'm just going to save this file in that folder that we were in. Okay, UA High School. So I'm going to save it here. And then we'll go for the other picture as well. Maybe that other picture might be useful. Yahweh, whatever that thing is, the JPG. So it seems both of them are pictures. Now this picture looks familiar. This seems to be the front image on the website, I'm guessing. I'm just going to download that as well. Perhaps maybe there's some steganography inside of it. So I'm just going to save that picture as well. Okay. And I'm going to have to stop this thing. It's kind of slowing down my machine. Or heck no, I'll keep it running. Okay. So I've downloaded those images using the HTTP server that I created on the front, on the machine itself. So back to it. Okay. So Control C to stop the server. It kind of takes us here, which is fine. So I'm going to restart Netcat again so I can reconnect. So here we go, which means now I'd have to, I'd have to relaunch up that script again. So I'm going to go ahead and reconnect again because I'm still investigating. All I did was find pictures, but who knows if those pictures are anything near useful anyway. So I'm going to go back there. I just copied. Oh, yes, we need our busybox command. Then we're going to go back there and inject it into the CMD field, like so. Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm wondering if this, there we go, it completed. But here, notice how we ended up with that CMD field. So Derwent ends up telling you anyway. But nonetheless, we're done with that. We don't need that anymore. Okay, I'm just going to do this. Okay, so we can perform our injection once more so we can regain that connection again. Okay, so in fact, let me clear this out because it's kind of cluttered now. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to do that and re-inject my command once more with that busybox command. Okay, so we go back there. Hopefully we capture our connection. In the meantime, let's take a look at these pictures that we downloaded. So we know what that picture is. That's kind of like the front cover image. And then there's this picture, which it doesn't seem like it renders anything. It's empty. So it says error interpreting not a JPEG file. So it seems this picture is not a picture, it seems. So we have to attempt to recover. Remember when I said there's going to be some digital forensics in here? There was going to be some digital forensics. So I'm just going to open a new tab. Okay, so here's that picture, one for all, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, one for all the JPG. So that's the picture. We have to try and recover that picture and see if we can reconstruct it if need be. So let's see. So I'm going to say file one for all.jpg. Okay, so it just says data. It doesn't tell me if it's a PNG or if it really is a JPG. So I'm gonna try and see if I can use a hex editor to see if I can zoom into that image file and see if there's some editing I need to do or anything like that. So it's called 140.jpg. Okay. So if we look into this, apparently this image is said to be a PNG file according to the hex that we have there. It's said to be a PNG, but it kind of doesn't make sense considering that it's given a JPG extension. So you're probably like, Nash, this is easy. I mean, why not just change that file extension and make it a PNG, then open the file and we're good, right? We can give it a try. So I'm just gonna go in there and change it because the hex editor said it's a PNG, right? So you can change it into a PNG. Can we still open the file? We can try that out. Not quite. So it's not as easy. So we have to figure out a way to reconstruct this entire thing. So I'm going to change it back into a JPG file because it doesn't work out that way. So according to our hex editor, it says that it's a PNG file, although it's supposed to be a JPG file. So it seems as if this was manipulated to force this thing to becoming a PNG. So we have to change it back into becoming a JPG, and maybe we can open it. So what we have here, if you're unfamiliar with what are called file signatures, let me actually go back and check this thing because it seems not to be working. Let me do this. Let's check this thing once more because I should have a connection. Who am I? Okay, it should tell me who it is, I hope. But nonetheless, if you're unfamiliar with what file signatures are or headers, in each and every file, the first kind of like symbols inside the file, because what we have here is all the contents that make up the picture, but every single file has a signature in the beginning that tells it ideally what kind of a file it is. Is it a picture? Is it a music file or whatever it is? So this signature can be manipulated, unfortunately. So we have to figure out how to get things back into a JPG. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to do some quickie research here and see what is the signature of a JPG file. So we'll just say JPG file signature. We're just going to do some Google here. If we can figure out what the signature is, yes, Active File Recovery seems to be a beautiful website that might help us figure things out here. So JPG file signature, that should be fine. So we're trying to recover this thing out. So they said when expecting example the JPG files binary data using any hex viewer such as theirs, we can see it starts with FFD8FF. So normally a JPG file seems to have to start with FFD8FF, apparently. So we're gonna go ahead and attempt to rewrite the hex inside our file and see if we can give it that FF and so on and so forth. And maybe we could get that. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into my hex editor here and attempt to recover that. So caps lock on and we'll go for FF and D8FF. Now, before I do this, I'm gonna go ahead and keep a copy of this file in case this thing doesn't work out. So I'm just gonna make another folder here, we'll call it backup. And inside here, I'll just keep a copy in case it gets messed up after that, because I'm not memorizing the current header that it has. But anyways, so we'll keep it as it is now, and we're gonna go ahead and save what we have so far. Okay, now this is quite a lot of work, I must say. So Control X to exit and save. So by getting Control X to exit and save, they said confirm the file name. I'll hit enter to confirm. Beautiful. So there we go. Now let's just say file, one for all. Do that. It says JPEG image data. Maybe that kind of rescues the file. So let's refresh and see if we can get this thing out. So let's try and open it now. Fingers crossed. Oops, nothing. We don't get anything there. So we have to go back because it seems that's not the ideal one that works for it. Okay, so now they said if it does not have a length of the embedded file, thus we need to find the JPEG trailer, which is FFD9 after detecting the signature at the offset. So we have to figure things out again. So at the very end, we told that there is that. So we have to give this at the trailer where the image itself ends. So that's another thing we could do as well. So going back to it, let me go back to the image itself. Okay, back to this thing. So I'm gonna go back into my hex editor. So going to the trailer, all of this can signify the image. That's one thing worth knowing. But if this is a steganography image, the end of this thing, because this image seems to have a lot of hexadecimal data and all that, but the end, somewhere in here is where the image itself is actually going to end. And it's pretty difficult to tell where exactly it's going to end, but we'll figure things out. So let me go back to the very, very, very top. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but okay, so there we go. We have FFD8FF. I'm told there can also be an E0 as well. So we could also try and append that, and let's see if we can write that data. Okay, if we do the file, it still says it's a JPEG data, so it seems fine. So we have to work with a lot of file recoveries here. Okay, I think I need to recover the old file now because I may have messed up the old thing. So I'm going to do this and get back the old thing back there. There we go. Okay, just going to replace the current file that I have. Okay, so we can keep reading through this article as we'd like. Another article I actually came across that's helpful is surprisingly Wikipedia. Surprisingly, in fact. So there's this article written on Wikipedia, list of file signatures as well. Although it's a pretty huge article with quite a lot of information, but it does have the file signatures that we are in fact looking for. So we can go across those file signatures and see if we can find anything useful to help us recover that that image that we lost. So let's see, what can we find on Wikipedia? So there, it's a beautiful thing, and there's a lot of stuff here. So there's the hex signature, the ISO, and the file extension. So we can go through these, and we are trying to find JPG, I believe. So we can read through all these. Okay, that's JPF, JPC. None of these seem to be. Oh, there's JPG. So we have this, we have that, we have that. So we have to try pretty much all of these, and hopefully we can find one that actually works. So we can sort of, in fact, this is quite a lot of them. Oh, it's worth noting, if you find it like this, it's quite continuous, by the way. Okay. So we can, I believe we tried FFD8FF, but we didn't try it with the DB. Perhaps using the DB, we might actually be able to recover it using with the DB. Okay. I believe there's also 89 as well. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Then there's FFD8, FFE0. I believe I've tried this, but let's try all of them by permutation. So I'm gonna do that, and we'll try them out. So let's clear this out. Oops, I had caps lock on. Let's clear that out. So there we go. So hex editor, hex editor, and then do that. So we have 89, 50, blah, blah, blah. And we'll try out the normal one first, and then we'll climb our way through till we find the right one. So the first one we have is FFD8, FFE0. So let's go ahead and try that. So that's FFD8, and going back to it, another FF and E0. So another FF and an E0, like so. That's one of the options we can go ahead and try, of course. Okay, then let's go ahead and save this and see if we're able to make a recovery for that. So file name, we'll save it as that. Okay, then let's go back there. Do we have an image? Not quite. We'll attempt to open it. If it's reconstructed, not quite. But here it seems we're trying to read it as a JPEG, and it's not really a JPEG. So we'll try another kind. So we'll open up our hex editor again. So FFD8, FFE0 seems to not have worked. So we can try, let me actually go down here, FFD8, FFDB. So I'll try that one. So FFD8, FFDB. Oops, that's not the terminal. So we have FFD8, FF, and then the last sheet, we can try DB to reconstruct. And oops, there we go. And see if we could recover it like that. Do we have anything? Fingers crossed, nothing. We're still reading it, and it says bogus DQT. So that one was a far off throwaway. We try another one. Okay. We could try the EE as well. So we could try, yeah, we can try the EE as well, or we could try that one. But seems though this one seems to be a continuous one, so that one might not exactly work. I don't know. Okay, let me actually have a look at what we have yet again. Okay, so trailing this, we have OD0A. Yes, we could try 8950 as well. So we try 8950. If I remember off the top of my head, 8950, I think it's 4E as well. Caps 4E. And 47. Hopefully this one works. 47. Can try and reconstruct it with that. That might work. Otherwise, again, you may have to replace that file if you throw it away. And I think I need to replace this file because I've lost this file already. Again, it's quite important why you need that copy. If you lost the copy, you may have to go back and re-download it again and get the shell and all that, wada, yada, yada, which is quite a lot of work, I must say. But you have no choice. So let's attempt to reconstruct it using 80. So I'll go back at it and let's see. Let me clear this out and let's try and use that hex edit again. So I don't know, but it seems I'm still having the same stuff. Okay, so it's 8954E47, and I think didn't I replace this file, or I did not. I guess I didn't. Let me go ahead and replace this file again, because I believe I did replace this file. Oh, let me try a different case actually. We have 01s, 00s, okay. So 89 seems to be the original PNG. So we'll try the E0 again. Yes, we'll try the E0 again. So let me go back there. So that's FFD. Oops, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done that. That skipped a lot of things. Ah, yes, there we go. Okay, so that's, in fact, I think I should have this written down somewhere here. I should have this here. Otherwise, I'll be switching over a lot. So FFD8, FFD8, and then FF again. Okay, FF, not DB. Oops, my. Okay, FFD8, yes. FFD8, and then another FF. And then it's an E0, to be sure, E0. Then the trailing from there, we have 00, we have 0A, I believe, yes, 00. Okay, that seems good. Okay, most of you guys are wondering why we also have these things that we can't exactly change as well. So the values that we have on that other side, we can't change them because that's what keeps track of the file's indices. So those pieces you can't really touch. So if you look at it, the size of the image would actually match to how many of these hexadecimal values we actually have that we are capable of editing. So we can't really touch those. And it's also worth noting as well that the values that you have here, so this is hexadecimal form, and this is in ASCII form. It's kind of like the human readable form, which is why you were sort of able to see JPEG right there or something like that, which was kind of a little easier for you to read. So some people might try to edit this thing in ASCII form, although I don't really think it's possible to try and edit it in ASCII form, but it is possible to edit it in ASCII form. So you can sort of try and manipulate it and try and write it as that value. You could attempt to actually do that. So nanda who, let me go ahead and fix this. Okay, so I'm just gonna delete the original, and then we'll go ahead and grab a new version that's not being manipulated. So I'm just gonna copy that, and let's go ahead and do the correct recovery for this. So I'll go in there. Oops, no, I guess, yes. Okay, now I've just gone ahead and rewrite it again. So I have to copy again back to this place again. Okay, now let's do a final write. I think you have to write more than one piece of this thing. So after doing a lot of searches, you'll finally come across the original FF D8. Yeah, it is FF D8, another FF again, and E0 as always. And these other trailing ones have to be edited as well. So we have another, I believe this should be 00 as well. And then there's a 10 and 4A. Again, you can feel free to test a lot of these ones. You can feel free to test out all of these. The one I'm actually working on is this one now. Okay, so that's what I'm attempting to use to attempt and recover that image. So I'm at 4A. So it's 4A 46, I believe. Yes, so 4A 46, 49, 46, so 49 and 46. Fingers crossed that this should be a recovery. I'm not going to rewrite this. I'm just going to call this one 2. Okay. Although the name kind of seems a little off, but hey, we have an image. Not sure if you noticed that, but there we go. It's a JPEG file. We've recovered that image. So let me just fix this file extension that it has here. I'm going to rename it quickly. Okay, .jpg. Beautiful. Okay, now that was a lot of work trying to just recover that image correctly. But anyways, our hex editor worked like a charm. Those who are anime fans probably know who on earth is on this picture. I don't know who that is, but I don't think that might be a clue to what is inside this picture, or maybe if there is even a password inside this picture for what it's worth. But hey, we managed to recover the picture. It's whatever this guy is. It's definitely not Dragon Ball. But anyway, so we could attempt then to perform a steganography extraction from this. So this image could have some steganography inside it. You can use tools that we looked at before, like XXD or anything like that along the lines, and see what you can find. But nonetheless, I'll set that aside. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go back and fix this issue that we were having here. Okay, so let's see if I can go back to my initial thing I had before here. Okay, beautiful, we had it. Okay, this was in assets. Remember, we went to the assets folder, and I think we had like a white page, and then we had to use derb, and derb eventually, oh, actually we tried index.html, we got an error, we tried index.php, gave us a white page, which looked perfect. So I'm just gonna go ahead and re-inject this. But anywho, setting that aside while it decides whether it wants to load or not, let's look further on the image that we downloaded. So that's one for all. So we mentioned that there could be steganography inside that image. So I'm now using the 2, not this one, because that's the unrecovered file. So this file could have steganography. So I could attempt to use steg hide to perform an extraction. So to do this with steg hide, we would say steg hide extract, and I believe it's SF, and then the name of the file, which is oneforall.jpg, like that. And apparently there is a password for this steganography. So whatever messages inside that file, we can't really easily find it. I tried no password, but that doesn't work. So there is a password that we have to find. Perhaps maybe inside that machine, there was more information that we could have found. So this thing is not working out for me. I'm going to try and open a private folder here to make ease. So I'm just going to open a private browser. So I have a different set of eyes. So I'm just going to do this. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cook that up. Okay, so far along the track, we haven't found anything for any of the flags. We haven't even found the user flag or anything. And I just need to make sure that I have enough time on this thing. I'm just going to add an extra hour for myself so this machine doesn't shut down while I'm still busy with it. So, okay, back to it. So UA High School loads up. Everything is fine. Let's see if we can access the assets folder. Let's see. Okay, we managed to. Okay, so we went over to index.php. And then we did our question mark CMD equal to, and then we injected our busy box in there. So I'm gonna go back and start my netcat listener. Again, we'll start netcat again, like so. So now that it's running, I'm gonna go back and perform a reinjection again in a private browser this time, because for some other reason we lost it. Okay. I believe I've also lost my tab. Let me actually go back to the history here because it will make it easier for me to access reverse shells. So yes, there it is, reverse shells. Beautiful. Okay, so this will just be a bit of a recapitulation for you if you're not familiar with what we did before. Okay, IP address is still fine. 192, okay, 10.6.92.209, which matches that. The port number matches. By the way, the port here and the port on Netcat has to be the same. Otherwise, you're not going to get your connection. Okay. Then I'm just going to go ahead and go into BusyBox and we'll collect that as it is. Okay. Then let's go back here and re-inject it like so. Okay. So hopefully we're able to catch that connection. Ah, beautiful. Okay. So now we have to perform further investigation. Maybe for some other reason, there might, I know chances are less, but there might be a case where the password is stored probably somewhere in here. So let's just check my current folder. So right now I'm currently in the var www.html. So I'm gonna try and go back one folder up and see if I can find interesting information as I go. So now if I do CD with 3 dots, it will take me probably to the HTML folder. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I'm back to assets actually. So let's see. CD with 2 dots actually. Yes. PWD. I'm back to HTML. Is there anything interesting here? Admissions, assets, nothing. Let me clear this out for myself. Okay. LS, nothing useful here. Again, PWD. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go back now. I should be at the www folder. So let me do PWD. I'm there. Anything useful? Ah, hidden contents. Now, what is that all about? So I'm gonna CD into hidden content. ls. Ah, passphrase.txt. That might be something useful. Cat passphrase.txt. I don't think that's the stuff. I don't think I spelled it correctly. Cat passphrase.txt. That was the wrong name to the file. Okay, there we go. Now, I don't think this is the password at all. This could just be a base64 password, honestly. It could just be a base64. So let's try and decode this. So this should be echo, quote unquote, this, okay, and pipe base64 -d to decode. All might forever. Okay, let me just do this. I'm just going to save this into some file. So I'm just going to say passphrase.txt. Okay, I'm just saving it into a file called passphrase.txt in case I need that thing later on. Nobody knows. Okay, let's go back to stag hide. Maybe that's the password we actually need. And for some other reason, I think I lost the password itself. So let me just cat passphrase dot txt. Okay, there it is. So let's go ahead and use tag hide to perform our extraction once more. And this time we'll use that password that we just decoded and see if we can crack our way through. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Beautiful. I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it right there and see if it works. Okay, I'm not even sure if I enter the right, if I even pasted it correctly. I'm just gonna type it manually. All might forever, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Tried it. It doesn't seem like it works, I guess. So we're gonna have to try out a different approach here. Or in fact, maybe it doesn't have the exclamation marks. All might forever, maybe without the exclamation marks might work. So we have to try different permutations of this. So I'm gonna paste this there. Nothing. Oops, let me clear this out. I have too many things now. Okay, all might forever, exclamation mark. I think there were 3 of them or something like that. This is way too many things. Okay, cat pass phrase.txt, I believe. Yes. Let me keep this here. Let me copy this correctly because I really believe this should be the password unless it's one of the user's passwords. Could be the case. So let me go ahead and paste selection. Maybe that should be the case. Okay, doesn't seem like it works. Or the file format for the file .jpg is not supported. Maybe we should have changed it, right? Because initially it was a PNG, I'm guessing. Initially it was a PNG. Maybe it's the case of how it should work here. But nonetheless, in fact, let me try this one more time because there is no way that shouldn't work because that was a lot of work just to find that thing alone. So all oops, capital letter, all right. And then that's might, M-I-G-H-T, making sure I'm correctly following this thing. And then F-O-R, I think I did a capital E for the ever. Okay, ever. And then there's, I think, 3 exclamation points. So that's 1, 2, 3 or so. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it works out for me at all. And I think I know why, because I'm using the wrong file. It was supposed to be the 2, because that's the one we deconstructed. That's a lot of work. Okay, one more time. All might forever, exclamation marks, 3 of them. Oh, finally. Now I believe that should have worked because that was way too much work. Okay, so we have creds.txt. That's a file created there. Okay, so there's creds.txt. That's one of the files created here. So let's see what's inside the creds.txt file. We could just do it like that. Previous session, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's fine. So let's see if there is a password we can use. Beautiful. We do have a password we could use. Now, we don't know whose password it is. So we need to do some further investigation from here. So what we can go ahead and do is to try and figure out who are the users here. So I'm going to cd into home. Okay. And I'm just going to ls from there. So there's a user called Deku. So I'm going to try and log in as Deku and see what I can find as Deku. So to do this, I'm going to log in using SSH. So SSH Deku at the IP address, of course. So let me go back there and capture it. So I'm going to log into that target machine using SSH and see what I can, if obviously that password works for what it's worth. So I'm going to go there and paste through that. Okay, and enter. It should request me for a password if everything works. Do I want to continue? Yes, I do. Okay, now they're asking for a password. So I'm going to copy what I have here. So it's 1 for all. I'll copy all that. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead and paste my clipboard and enter. If everything works well, oh, beautiful. I think we found our first flag. I think we're in. So pwd, where am I? I'm in the home of Deku. Okay. ls to list everything. Oh, user.txt. I think we found it. user.txt. Beautiful. We found our first flag. Yes. So I'm gonna copy that and go ahead and submit it to get my first points, because that was a lot of work. So back to try hack me. I think this should work. So that's the first points we need here. Paste it right on in there and submit. Yes. Okay, did it work? Yes, that's the correct answer. Now we need the root flag, and commonly your root flag happens if you've performed privilege escalation. So you have to log in as the root user. So it kind of makes things a little difficult. But anyways, so to log in as root, we need to find root's password, but that's a little too much. So we could try and figure out what can Deku do as root. We'll try and use that. Oh, yay. I think I lost that password. I'm gonna have to go back and recopy it. Deku's password. Okay, that should be it. Beautiful. Okay, that's Deku's password. I'll paste it right there. Okay, so what we have here is a list of commands that Deku can do as if he was root. Then what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna use this, because this is what apparently Deku can do if he was root. So what we're gonna do is try and do this thing and sort of stop this thing halfway and just open a terminal from there and figure out things. So apparently there's a script in OPT new components feedback.sh. So it seems like that's what he can do as root. So let's try and do that. So I'm gonna say sudo, and it should be what, sh or bash, in fact, bash, because this is a shell script. Shell script is like Python, but it's a language normally made for Linux. But anyways, so opt/new component/feedback.sh. Okay, let's execute that. So they said, sorry, user Deku is not allowed to execute bin bash. So we can't do that. I don't think we have to do it as bash. So let's try and do it without the bash. I think it should work without the bash. Ah, there we go. Hello, welcome to the report form. This is a way to report various problems developed by technical department of UA. Enter your feedback. Okay, I'm not gonna do much there. Let me just take a look at the source code to see if there's a way I could manipulate it. So I'm just gonna cat it and see if there's anything useful here. Okay, so there's echoes. Echo is just to display messages, honestly. And then there's like a huge if statement here. And then it's waiting for you to enter some stuff, right? So what if we just enter, because this thing seems to be going to feedback.txt. So what if I could just enter an entire command in there? What if I could do that, right? Because this entire if statement seems to be the message for that. So I'll try and inject an entire message in there. And what I'm going to do for that message is I'm going to enter a command that's going to inject Deku to become root, basically. I'm going to sort of manipulate it such that Deku becomes root. And that's ideally the approach that I'm trying to put into place here. So perhaps it's going to work. I hope, honestly, it works. So in order for us to insert someone as a new root user, we have to insert their names into a certain file, because this is how Linux is made, by the way, into a file called, I think it's in the location etc sudoas or something like this. Yeah, etc sudoas, something like that. Then once you place the person there, that should be fine, right? So we'll just insert a command here. So I want Deku to be added. So I'm going to say Deku. And then I'm going to say all. So I want him to be able to execute everything, okay, without a password. No password. So I'm going to say no pass WD. It has to be shortened for Linux for some other reason. Okay, so no pass WD. And then you're going to give a colon, and then you're going to say all. And then we're going to write all of this into that file I was mentioning, which is at etc/sudoers. I'm not even sure if I've spelled sudoers correctly, because it's one of the most difficult words for me to write. SUDOER. That should work. And then enter. So there it says feedback successful. So let's do that sudo -l once more. And beautiful. The injection worked like a charm. So it seems like we can do this now. So could I try sudo su? Beautiful. I've now become root. That's quite a scam I did there. But anyways, now I can go to the root's home. Is there the root flag there? Beautiful. So let's cat root.txt. And there we go. And that should be our root flag. Beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and copy our root flag and take it over and submit it. Voila. I hope that should be the root flag. I don't think they would put a decoy for me. Yes. It can't be 50%. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah, that works out. Okay. That did take me a while. It did take an incredibly long time. And I believe most of the time was because we had to do the whole recovery for the image. But that worked perfectly. Yes. So yeah, there I am. I've solved it, 60 points up the notch. Beautiful. I've just solved this just behind someone called Riz92. Whoever that person is, one of the first people to finish it was this guy. But anyhow, that solves the CTF. I believe this session should be recorded in case this might have been a little too fast for those who may have been trying to do this along. So I'd advise you try doing it without the video or write-up or anything like that. And then if it works perfectly, you should be fine. Then when you hit a snag, you can always look back at the video and it can help you trace your steps up until now. Okay, but yes, that was actually quite a challenge, which is quite weird why they would say it's easy, but that solves it. So that is one of the CTFs that we do. Those who are part of the cybersecurity bootcamp at Northsoft Academy, we do quite a lot of these almost weekly. So we get a feel of how most of these machines are entirely. So I hope this helps you put into perspective, get familiar with some of the steps and everything. It's all about the thinking, the way you figuring your way around the problem. It's always about that. And I hope this helped you out because it really did, because apparently it helped my streak. Anyways, if any of you guys have questions on that CTF, I can address your questions now. You can put them onto the Q&A section, and then we can address them. I can answer them along the way. And by the way, those who are interested in our cybersecurity bootcamp, you can join us, and I can meet you in the classroom, and we can have a whole lot of fun doing some of the CTFs. And of course, not to lie, of course, we do start with the boring stuff. Okay. Now, if there are no questions in the Q&A, I will stay for a few minutes for those who do have questions for me. Anything pertaining cybersecurity, the bootcamp, or the CTF that we've completed just now, I'm going to be here for you guys. And that is it, guys. Have a wonderful evening/day. See you guys.